All right, let's head out to the studio in the sky where we've got Oklahoma Department of Transportation Director Tim Gatz joining us. How you doing today, sir?
Absolutely wonderful.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time out to, do some public awareness on how the Route 66 roads are going to be for the upcoming Centennial. I mean, from my understanding, I have not confirmed this myself. That's why this summer's trip is, I'm doing it for my own, you know, Route 66 reset and mental clarity, as well as to find out, is Oklahoma the longest stretch of Route 66, like I've been reading about in all my history books and everything? So, uh, what's the Route 66 route like out there in Oklahoma? Let's start with that one.
a lot of it is still what I would characterize as a primary route. Historically, when Route 66 was completed, and again, there's a lot of opinions about where exactly it went because it was rerouted on, several different locations, especially in Tulsa and Oklahoma City metropolitan areas. But we had somewhere around 415 miles across the state when it was originally constructed. We've still got about 400 miles of that that's drivable to this day. And, again, a significant part of that, far more than half, is still on the highway system. So again, it still serves a very important transportation function here in the state of Oklahoma.
I was just talking to a few businesses in Oklahoma City last week, and the one thing I've noticed is Oklahoma and Texas. There is quite an affinity for Route 66, but Oklahoma, especially in the service industry, the industrial services industry, a lot of supply chain. When you think about it, the different, trucks and all the different roads and all the different, whether it be agriculture or energy, you know, a lot of these places are in the middle of nowhere. And so a lot of these different trucks and these different service companies, they know the roads. They know the roads, and there's such an affinity for Route 66. Do you have that growing up in Oklahoma? Do you have kind of almost a mystic or nostalgic feel for Route 66?
Absolutely. And I think if you look at Oklahoma, at first, we're a young state. We didn't achieve statehood until 1907. And when you consider our history, Oklahoma was and always has been a transportation hub. That goes all the way back to the Great Western Cattle Trail and the Chisholm Trail and the old military road. So we've always been kind of central to the transportation of what started out as agricultural products and people and as we evolved, uh, Route 66 is woven into the very fabric of who we are. I grew up in a Route 66 community. For that matter, about more than two-thirds of Oklahoma's population, even today, lives within 25 miles of Route 66.
Oh, you're kidding
So,
me.
no, no, consider Oklahoma City and Tulsa the two major metropolitan
Yeah.
areas, and then all of the communities that it runs through as it crosses the state. But I grew up a couple of blocks off of Route 66, crossed it twice a day, every day, going back and forth to school. I have a deep appreciation for what it's meant to Oklahoma. It's kind of just like the Chisholm Trail. It's woven into the fabric of who we are, and there's so many stories and so much history. I mean, all the way back to the beginning with Cyrus Avery and being from Tulsa at that time and his involvement in establishing the route and his involvement for that matter of beginning to get Oklahoma out of the mud when it comes to our highway system. So I think most all Oklahomans have a deep appreciation for what Route 66 is and I think a clear understanding of the not just the importance to the United States, but the global attention that Route 66 gets.
Tulsa is, I believe, known as the birth or the capital of Route 66, and Springfield, Missouri markets himself as the birthplace. We've got the end of the Route 66, the beginning. I find it interesting that Tulsa became the capital of Route 66, and with Cyrus Avery being from there, but they've also embraced it. I know I've spoken about a half a dozen times in Tulsa for some different energy events, and I was blown away by a lot of the art. And not only the art, but I thought the art was kind of tied to the oil and gas industry the first few times I was there. But then I started to notice, no, a lot of this is because of Route 66. And when I say art, I include roadside sculptures of things. Up in my neck of the woods here in Minnesota, you can't drive 20 miles without some giant pelican or some giant chicken or some giant turkey statue alongside of the road. Because back in the day, that's what highways did. Highways had these big giant statues for one, artists. It economically empowered artists, but also there were construction projects too. So it was almost industrial art. And I've had these conversations with some different mural people that there was a day and age when billboards, that was an industrial artist project. I mean, somebody would paint that billboard for a month and then it would be up for a year. It was an event. And that's how I kind of look at the Route 66. It's really brings in the artistic community, whether it's videographers or authors or painters, but it also brings in the industrial and the energy community through the classic cars and just through the Harley Davidson and the internal combustion engine. And as I'm finding out now, some electric vehicles are even starting to take the route as well. Talk to me a little bit about that from the Department of Transportation standpoint, because my guess is there's been some anticipation that this is going to be a very heavily traveled road this summer. Has there been preparation? Are the bridges intact? I'll tell you what, you get up near Duluth, Minnesota, and there's some bridges up there that if a leaf fell on it from a maple tree, the thing would dissolve. So that's, sometimes, and I've been hearing near Oatman, Arizona, the switchbacks start and there's wild burros that cross the road and that kind of thing. So what kind of roads are we looking at for the travelers and bridges and things?
Again, for the most part, a lot of Route 66 is on our primary highway system. So over the last decade, the state of Oklahoma, just to give you a little bit of a frame of reference, we've invested more than $500 million in projects on Route 66. So it's something we take care of. We got to continue to maintain it. Now, that's not telling you that you won't cross a few stretches, especially when you get back to the historic pavement, which is usually somewhere between 18 and 20 foot wide. A lot of that might be on the county system now, and it may be a little rough. But for the most part, Route 66 is easily travelable across the state of Oklahoma. And, one of the projects that we're really proud of, if you're familiar with what's known as the Bridgeport Bridge, or the Yellow Bridge, that is about a 4,000 foot long bridge over the South Canadian River. And it's just on the west side of El Reno on Route 66. It was originally constructed as part of the original route in the 30s and opened. It was a pony truss bridge, had a total of 38 pairs or 76 pony trusses, and had fallen into a state of disrepair. And the department went in with a eye to preserving the history of that structure. And we removed all of those pony trusses. We widened the bridge just a little bit, built it back in a modern manner, and then refinished those pony trusses and reinstalled them on the bridge. So it looks very much like the original. And again, that was out of a concern from the Route 66 community, that we retain some of that history and that historic feel. But that's a project we're really proud of. And, we've got projects like that all up and down the route here in Oklahoma. One of the things that we've done in the run up to the Centennial celebration is our legislature and governor here really put an emphasis on Route 66 and created a little bit of a revenue stream. And we've invested more than $20 million in about 40 projects along the route, really from state line to state line. And you're talking about things like the blue whale in Catoosa, that is really famous in its own right as a Route 66 monument. But we've done that all across the state of Oklahoma. A little western community called Weatherford is the home of Tom Stafford, general and an astronaut. So they have an aerospace museum there in Weatherford that is right off of the historic Route 66 that is incredible in its own right. But they've embraced that space and aerospace element. And you talked about the gigantics, the statues along Route 66 and the industrial art. They have a spaceman in downtown Woodward or downtown Weatherford, right on Route 66, and pretty incredible installation. But we see that kind of interest in the Route 66 communities, and the buzz right now in the run up to the Centennial is off the charts. So we want everybody that visits Oklahoma to have a great experience and kind of see what we're all about, hang around a little while, and really check things out throughout the state.
I know when we interviewed Reese Martin from the Oklahoma Route 66 Association, they were doing or overseeing or involved or promoting Will Rogers Highway. There's a monument or some work being done at the Will Rogers place. And I always said, well, if you name a highway, that's a good sign that they want the highway to stay, because you humanize it. We do that up in North Dakota with the Theodore Roosevelt Expressway that generally gets funded because, you got to fund Theodore Roosevelt, that type of thing. Are there any toll roads that people should be aware of?
Yeah, we do have an extensive toll network here in the state of Oklahoma. That's one of the ways that over historical times, we've used a user fee, which is that toll facility to keep some tax burden off of our citizens. And so as you go, and I'll give you an example, the primary connection between Oklahoma City and Tulsa was Route 66. And what we saw develop over time, when you turn the clock back to the war years, coming out of World War II, as the economy started to really grow here in the state of Oklahoma, what happened to Route 66 between Oklahoma City and Tulsa was congestion and safety concerns, because as you might imagine, a narrow 2-lane connector, when you had a collision, a crash on that highway, it was horrific. And again, we were seeing that all too often, too many fatalities. So in 1947, the legislature developed a turnpike authority, and they built the Turner Turnpike, which at the time, you think about that, we opened it in 53. President Eisenhower didn't sign the Interstate Act until 56. So Oklahoma has always been a leader in trying to make sure that we had good transportation opportunities. The Turner Turnpike parallels Route 66, and that's going to be the primary route. The Will Rogers Turnpike that connects Tulsa with the northeast corner of the state, running up towards Joplin on Interstate 44, which the Turner and the Will Rogers both carry that shield. So those are two toll facilities that do parallel Route 66. You can travel the historic route all the way, but if you have a need to maybe move a little faster and get from point A to point B, those I-44 on those turnpike facilities is what I would consider to be our high-speed modern type transportation.
Are they pretty digital and debit card and that sort of thing, or do you need quarters?
No, they are all electronic. So
Okay.
they're all the tolling is done either through our Pike Pass system or through our license plate tolling. And our toll tag is called Pike Pass. And if anybody, if you think you're going to be on those Turnpike network, it's a very simple process to get a Pike Pass, and that's the easiest way to do it. And then you don't have to worry about, getting an invoice or something like that. And anybody can sign up and get a Pike Pass, even if you're just passing through. So,
Interesting. Okay. Is that at the state's website or Oklahoma Turnpike Authority's website
yeah,
or?
yeah, literally pikepass.com
Oh, there we
will take
go.
you there, and they will have everything that you need to sign up or to learn more about what the operation of those toll facilities is like. Like I said, we expect most folks that are here for the Centennial are going to stay on the historic route. But again, those are good alternatives if you need to move a little faster or you want to just get from point A to point B.
Well, and Roots AAA, I mean, is anticipating 40% or 41% of adults are going to be taking in some part of Route 66. And I'm telling people, even if that number seems high, just cut it in half down to 20%. That's still a lot of people. 20% of America taking in one road is that is every business owner's dream and every Department of Transportation commissioner's nightmare, because that's a lot of wear and tear in the roads. And so that's the part that when I saw that number, like I said, even if I cut it in half, 20%, sheesh, that's a lot of people. I'm up in, like you say, up in Minnesota where I get lakes area traffic, like the Ozarks. You understand seasonal traffic when a town of 500 can turn into 15,000 in a weekend, very quickly. I did want to ask you about the main gas stations, and they're like in the center of the interstates. And I don't know if that's on the Turnpike system or it is on the Turnpike. Okay, because I know some people, they want to stop at as many diners as possible, but there are some areas where when you're on the interstate, hey, you either got to gas up where you can or you got to eat when you can. And I believe it's Oklahoma that has like gas station and different eating establishments in the center of the interstates instead of off ramps. Is that you guys?
We have a few of those.
Yeah.
There's not many left. The one you're probably thinking of primarily is between Oklahoma City and Tulsa. We have recently redone that travel plaza
Okay.
and turned it into an eastbound and a westbound. So they're both right off to get to them.
Okay.
And again, what we really want, and we're ready. Again, we've been working on our preparations for the Centennial celebration on Route 66 for many years, and we're going to welcome everybody as you travel through those communities, through our Route 66 communities. You're going to have ample opportunity to stop, get a hamburger, enjoy some of the local fare while you're there. And also, there's plenty of fueling opportunities here. Oklahoma, and again, I think this speaks to our crossroads of America mentality. We our home and Love's Travel Plazas are headquartered here in Oklahoma City. Quick Trip and their operations are headquartered in Tulsa. And so we are the travel plaza capital of the universe. So folks that visit Oklahoma will have plenty of opportunities to have a clean restroom. Again, what I really encourage you to do is stop and sample some of the local restaurant offerings and visit the businesses along the route. And I think again, Oklahoma is just absolutely thrilled at the opportunity to show off a little bit for the folks that want to come visit our part of Route 66.
I didn't realize Quick Trip was out of Oklahoma.
Yes,
And
sir.
we, the first time I saw a Quick Trip was in Minneapolis, one of the suburbs of Minneapolis. And I actually took a picture of 3 or 4 different areas, primarily where they sell meat and cheese and produce, and just a circular aisle, like just enough, and it's again perfect for the lakes area. If you want to pick up a couple steaks, a pound of hamburger, maybe some brats, that kind of thing. I texted it to a bunch of my entrepreneur thread buddies, and I put, here's the future of gas stations. Here's the future of gas stations right here. They've got it figured out, because the gas station industry is one of the most fascinating, having to adapt to modern society ever. From, one of the examples I, like to give people is, if you've noticed how the quality of food at gas station has increased exponentially, it's because people stopped going inside to pay. They started paying at the pump. And that meant people stopped going inside to buy Snickers and a Coke. Well, they had to figure out how to get people back inside. And
Yep.
so they started coming out with a good quality breakfast burrito. So all these people that fueled up in the morning would come inside and get their breakfast there instead of McDonald's. And so it's a very interesting, high level, just thought process. And that's why Quick Trip, I'm like, well, here's the next chapter for the gas stations right here. It's the mini market. Well, the dollar store really did a number to a lot of smaller communities, grocery stores and that sort of thing. And so it's just the evolution of different things. But anyways, different topic for different days. So,
Well, and even that, you can
yeah,
think about how the travel plaza in the modern form, man, that got its start from the filling stations that were along Route 66.
yeah,
And a prime example is Lucille's at Hydro, Oklahoma, on Route 66. That was kind of that combination of gas station, restaurant, and a motor court. So, we've just evolved on that concept, and that's what I mean. It makes sense that, Oklahoma is a leader in that kind of travel plaza, because that's part of where we got our start, right there along the most famous route, Route 66. So,
well, and really that is the next evolution of travel too, especially if the electric vehicle mandates are going to continue. You're going to see the same way that people stopped going to the hardware store to get gasoline and started going to a gas station. The gas station is going to become a charging station, and you're going to see it accommodate more to longer periods of time where you have to wait. And so 45 minutes to an hour, how do you entertain people for 45 minutes to an hour? Maybe get $20 out of them, but you can't. Some of them, you got to offer free Wi-Fi and hope they entertain themselves and use a drinking fountain. It's kind of, I mean, that's really the chemistry set of the new travel center, is how to accommodate these very long periods of charge time, if that's the way it's going. So and Route 66 is a big part of that. Now it's the interstate system, but it's still, the spirit is still there. We'll say that the spirit is still there. So anyway, I don't know if you have any comments on that. Oh, by the way, do you have electric charging stations along the way? Is that anything people have to worry about anymore?
because our Route 66 here in Oklahoma so closely parallels our interstate system,
Mm-hmm.
there are charging opportunities with proximity to the route, so shouldn't be a problem. I think long term, the evolution of electric vehicles. If you listen to folks a decade ago, by now everybody should be in one. I think that's a slow evolution. I think the modernization of internal combustion engines, and the increases that they're realizing now in fuel efficiency, which is causing some investment revenue problems, because we're so heavily predicated on motor fuel tax. And fuel efficiency is definitely having an impact on consumption numbers. But I think when you look at that, the move towards electric vehicles is probably slower than maybe some originally believed. Not that we won't eventually get there, but I think it's going to be a slower evolution, and I think it's got a lot of challenges that we're going to have to overcome One being, the demand for electricity and is continuing to grow in some locations exponentially based on things like data centers and a lot of manufacturing operations and things like that. So I think it's going to be an interesting future, but I don't think the internal combustion engines are going to go away. Certainly not in my lifetime. So
Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of years because when the automobile replaced the horse and buggy, there was always a saying that said, "Don't put the cart before the horse." And with the electric vehicles, they did that. And I was actually living in California when a lot of the 10% mandates were there. And when the when I moved out to California back in the 90s, the smog was so bad that you couldn't even see the mountains next to the Ventura Boulevard. Well, the engines cleaned up and they started some emissions deals that really worked well.
sure,
And then that's when they took the cart and put it before the horse by trying to mandate electric vehicles when the hybrid market really took off. Boy, the hybrid market, people really like the hybrid market, but for some reason they just said, no, we want these electric vehicles. Well, now flash forward 30 years to today, and now Europe is backing off their mandates. I just saw it last month. And Ford and Jaguar, I mean, the Jaguar electric car, they actually have to put an internal combustion engine in there as a backup for I mean, you can't make it up. And so
sure.
that's when you really start looking at when the optics don't work, that's very difficult because first of all, there's a fuel tax nobody talks about that if you take that away from the roads and then introduce a vehicle that is 2 to 3 times heavier than the car you're taxing, that's a whole big problem I've never heard one person be able to articulate because they don't want to go down that road. And then on the flip side, you mentioned the AI data centers. That's another issue no one's talking about. But before the data centers were an issue, nobody could get the grid hooked up to their car anyways because they got to redo the whole grid system to be able to allow people to charge internally into their own homes. And so it's very complicated. And for us, with the energy brand that I've been a part of for 15 years, that was actually what sparked our whole thing, was to really promote the internal combustion engine and the freedom it's brought us. The fact that it does bring us a quality of life that is like no other, and Route 66 is a big part of that. And so, when hotels became motels, that changed the engineering industry. That changed the civil planning departments in cities. And that's because of Route 66. Phillips 66, from my understanding, is because of safety, which was, can a road handle a car going 66 miles an hour? Okay, innovation. Can we put together an engine that can go 66 miles an hour? And governance, which is our speed limits are going to be 65 miles an hour. Can we produce something that's going to be able to be safe enough, move fast enough, be efficient enough? That's incredible. And to me, those are the stories that Route 66 are going to tell this summer, for me anyways, and I hope for others. And that's why I really appreciate you bringing your knowledge to this conversation, because this is the stuff people don't talk about. The diners are going to get done to death. The statues are going to get photographed like crazy. But why is it possible? It's possible because of the roads, the investment from counties, by the way. When you take a look at where most of the money comes from for roads, counties are the ones that sign the check at the end of the day. It might come from the state or the feds, but from my understanding, the counties are the ones that's the general contractor in a lot of the different things. And so anyway, what do you want people to walk away from with Route 66 and, the Department of Transportation, all the investments? Just how do you want people to take away what you are bringing to the story?
I would tell you, we've got such a long history of transportation here in Oklahoma. Again, going all the way back to the the department. We celebrated our 100th year anniversary in 2011. So we've got a 100-year history of moving Oklahoma forward. And if you turn the clock back to Cyrus Avery in 1924, 1925, Oklahoma only had about 375 or 380 miles of paved highway.
Hmm.
So literally bringing Oklahoma out of the mud since then. Today, what you're going to find is a highway system that is in excess of 12,300 miles. Some of that's still on Route 66. But what you're also going to find is Oklahoma is a leader in investing in our infrastructure, especially, and you talked a little bit about bridges. On our highway system here in Oklahoma, we've got some of the best conditioned bridges in the United States. So we're going to be ranked number 4 or number 5 in the country for best infrastructure. And, that's something we're very proud of. So we've got a long history of taking care of our highway system and taking care of our infrastructure here in the state of Oklahoma. And we want everybody to come visit us and really enjoy the history of Route 66. Take the time to visit with. We have some of the most welcoming and friendly citizens that you're going to find any place. Stop and visit with them because everybody's got a story to tell. And again, Oklahoma is absolutely excited to welcome the Centennial travelers to the state. And we look forward to a great year. And then we look forward to a great future. So,
Well, I appreciate the time. And are you have any places that you want to mention at all that maybe people should stop by? And either because it's like you mentioned the Blue Whale. My understanding is that's been renovated, so go check it out to check out the renovations. But maybe like there's a Coney dog in Illinois that I need to stop by and eat and
sure.
that kind of thing. So, have you got anything like that from a personal side?
You're going to see things all up and down Route 66. In my hometown of El Reno, where I still live, we have a facility called the filling station that is a historic Route 66 filling station that's just recently been renovated and restored. A beautiful place. Again, Weatherford, the Stafford Air and Space Museum is incredible. So that's a good stop. Route 66 Museum in Clinton is in itself a uh, really a jewel in that it has a lot of Route 66 history in it. Between Oklahoma City and Tulsa, you're going to find Stroud, which is ground zero for neon signage. They've made a huge investment in restoring neon signs in the downtown area. The town of Wellston, and I'll talk just for a second about it because we're about to cut a ribbon on a project there, and it's the intersection of Route 66 and the Turner Turnpike, I-44. Uh, the Turnpike Authority just built a new bridge over Route 66 at the same time in partnership. The Department of Transportation made some improvements on Route 66 through Wellston. That location is getting one of our iconic pieces of art along the Route 66 art trail that we have. And it's that's kind of the center point of Route 66 in Oklahoma. At the end of April this year, we're going to cut a ribbon on that in conjunction with the Route 66 Summit and the Route 66 Centennial Commission meeting we're going to host in Oklahoma City. When we cut that ribbon, it's going to be a plaza that's got a push pin. And when I say a push pin in the middle of it, like kind of the center point of the route in Oklahoma, push pin that's going to be about 21 foot tall, acrylic. It'll be beautiful. And and you mentioned Reese Martin, a good friend of mine. We're working with Reese to install one of the Will Rogers highway plaques at that location. So again, I mean, we've got some really incredible events that are going to happen all up and down Route 66 as we progress through the summer. But again, that deal at Wellston's going to be super exciting. Uh, in the month of May, we are going to host our Route 66 kickoff, which the city of Tulsa is hosting what they hope to be a World Record, Guinness Book of World Records event for a classic car show and parade. They expect thousands of classic cars, and then at the conclusion of the day, they're going to transport, and some of those will come to Oklahoma City, where we're going to host an event on Route 66 in downtown Oklahoma City. And again, that'll be the kickoff for our summertime of Route 66. And so, again, you're going to see events like that. Travelok.com is our tourism website, and they have a Route 66 calendar that I would encourage everybody to take a look at it, because it will showcase all of the events that are going to happen over the course of the summer in the run up to November 11th, which is really the birthday of Route 66. So going to be exciting times in Oklahoma.
When was that big ribbon cutting you're talking about?
The ribbon cutting will be on the morning of April the 23rd.
Okay.
And then our Mother Road Summit. It's the second annual
Mother Road Summit. Okay.
Mother Road Summit. We're hosting it at our History Center. And if
Mhm.
you didn't know, Oklahoma's Capitol building and our History Center is on Route 66, the original route. So again, such a
I
strong.
didn't realize the Capitol was.
Yes. Yep. It is Northeast 23rd Street, which was part of the original Route 66 routing. And again, so there's a direct connection there, but we're going to host that Route 66 Mother Road Summit at the History Center on the 24th. We've got some exciting speakers and panels that'll go on there, and it'll be a great event. So
That's interesting. Yeah, the Route 66, the classic car, the Capitol Cruise, that was the event actually that we centered our whole trip around, to be honest. Was I think last I checked, they had a couple thousand cars registered and they need to get to 5,000. And
yeah,
I talked to a woman from Wisconsin. She's bringing three down. So I said, hey, every bit helps at something like this. I mean, if you can get 5,000 classic cars in one city, that is going to be an absolutely incredible event. And so, yeah, just to give people an idea of some of the important things that are going on and happening. It's interesting too, because November 11th, of course, it shares it with Veterans Day. And so when I've talked to a few people at the National Day calendars and that sort of thing, I've mentioned that, and they're like, yeah, but Veterans Day, it gets a little bit, it's hard to share and it's hard to, take away the spotlight. And so on the tourism side, it's much better to start in the spring to get the summer travel and that sort of thing. So for us, that's how we've kind of set up our travel schedule, is to basically do the documentation during the travel, which in real time you can promote on social media. But then we want to do more of the packaged, edited things and roll those out from November to next year. And then that way you can actually also honor and try to be as timely as possible for these types of anniversaries, because I guess I grew up when we cared about those types of things, but I also understand marketing and the way people are. And well, very few people celebrate Christmas on the 25th anymore. It's what works in everybody's schedule. So that's how it goes. But the good news is there's going to be a year and a half of really something that should really only be a year. So that's the good news of it. And sounds like you guys are ready for it. And are you involved in anything? I know that Capitol Cruise, the lieutenant governor, is going to be one of the 4 MCs. Are you going to take in any big events at all this summer?
absolutely.
Okay.
And again, I will make that trip from Tulsa to Oklahoma City in May. Certainly heavily involved in the Mother Road Summit. I sit on the U.S. Route 66 Centennial Commission as a Governor Kevin Stitt appointee, and so we will host the national Route 66 Commission as part of that event in April. And again, I'm going to participate both personally and officially in a lot of Route 66 events across the course of the summer, and really looking forward to it. I think, just as you point out, you got the centennial celebration of 66, which is a big deal. 250th anniversary of the United States. Happy birthday,
Yeah,
America.
that too. Yeah.
And, all this really nicely rolls together. And, I don't see one event detracting from the other. I think Veterans Day and a 100-year centennial of Route 66, man, how can you get more American than that, right?
I'm with you. I mean,
So,
I cannot believe how much of our American culture was created because of Route 66. And I'm being totally serious. And a lot of that was driven by the internal combustion engine. And so for me, that's how I look at so much of this centennial in combination with the 250-year freedom anniversary. Freedom, I mean, it's called Independence Day for a reason.
sure,
And open road, the car. And I mean, that to me is what now I'm starting to get teary eyed, but that's the beauty of it. It means something different to everybody. That's the other part,
sure.
small business to family road trips to artists taking it in, musicians I mean, Elvis, he made his way through Route 66. So,
Yeah.
anyway, well, I appreciate the time. I'm taking a look at the clock here, and I'll give you the final words. What's the final thoughts here?
I appreciate the opportunity to visit about something that, again, we're passionate about here in Oklahoma. And extend an invitation to everybody, all of your listeners and everybody to come check us out, take a look, enjoy Oklahoma, because there is no place on earth like the state of Oklahoma and the people that we have here. So.
Director Tim Gatz, Oklahoma Department of Transportation.